The air crackled with nervous energy as the final seconds ticked away. Project Director Alexandra Petrov's fingers tightened around the railing, knuckles turning white. After a lifetime dedicated to this moment, she refused to let her composure slip, even as her heart pounded in her chest. When the first stage engines ignited with a deafening roar, Petrov felt a surge of pride mingled with trepidation. The towering rocket trembled and groaned as it strained against the pull of Earth's gravity, belching a plume of fire and smoke into the clear sky. Spectators fell silent, transfixed by the sheer power of humanity's technological might. As the rocket climbed higher, Petrov's gaze remained fixed on the diminishing speck, mentally running through every contingency plan, every backup system. This was no ordinary launch. The lives of the first permanent settlers on Mars hung in the balance. One wrong move, one unexpected failure, and the entire mission could come crashing down in a horrific display. "Come on, you beautiful beast," she muttered under her breath, willing the rocket to push through the upper atmosphere. If the ascent went according to plan, the colonists would reach the Martian surface within 6 months, setting the stage for humanity's greatest leap into the unknown. Petrov had dedicated the better part of her adult life to this moment. As a young engineer fresh out of MIT, she had been handpicked to lead the technical team responsible for designing the life support systems and habitat modules that would sustain the first Martian outpost. It had been a grueling, thankless task, filled with endless calculations, simulations, and arguments over the smallest details. But through it all, Petrov had never lost sight of the bigger picture. This was humanity's chance to break free of the confines of a single planet, to extend our reach into the solar system and beyond. The Mars One colony was not just an experiment, but a foothold, a toehold on the path to becoming a truly interplanetary species. The roar of the engines began to fade as the rocket punched through the upper atmosphere, its fiery trail shrinking to a thin plume against the inky blackness of space. Petrov released a slow, steadying breath, her steely gaze never wavering. "Godspeed, pioneers," she whispered, a silent prayer for the 12 men and women aboard the spacecraft. In their hands, the fate of humanity's grandest vision now rested. Petrov had no illusions about the monumental challenges that lay ahead. The journey to Mars was fraught with peril, and the trials facing the colonists once they reached their destination would be unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Every known and unknown risk had been meticulously analyzed, contingency plans drafted and revised, emergency protocols honed to a razor's edge. And yet, Petrov knew that no amount of preparation could fully account for the unpredictable nature of space exploration. The colonists were embarking on a one-way trip, volunteering to become the first permanent residents of another world. Their names would be etched into history, their legacies forever tied to this pivotal moment in humanity's journey. But Petrov also knew the grim reality. Not all of them might make it back alive. She watched as the rocket's second stage fell away, the spacecraft continuing its graceful ascent into the void. A small part of her longed to be among them, to experience the wonder and terror of setting foot on an alien planet. But Petrov's place was here, on Earth, guiding this mission from afar and ensuring that everything that could be done would be done to give the colonists the best chance of success. The fate of the Mars One colony now rested on the shoulders of 12 extraordinary individuals, pilots, engineers, scientists, and pioneers, united in their desire to push the boundaries of human exploration. Petrov could only hope that their courage, their ingenuity, and their sheer determination would be enough to overcome the challenges that lay ahead. As the rocket disappeared from view, she turned and strode purposefully back to mission control, her mind already racing with the next set of tasks that needed her attention. The real work was only just beginning. The silence that fell over the landing site was palpable as the hatch of the Mars One spacecraft cracked open. All eyes were fixed on the narrow gap, waiting with bated breath for the first glimpse of the new world. One by one, the 12 colonists emerged, their faces a mix of awe, apprehension, and steely determination. Commander Samantha Winters led the way, her boots crunching against the rust-colored soil as she took her first tentative steps onto the surface of Mars. "We have touchdown," she reported, her voice calm and steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "All systems nominal. Beginning surface operations." Winters paused, her gaze sweeping across the alien landscape that stretched out before her. The rust-tinted horizon was dotted with towering buttes and distant mesas, a far cry from the familiar blue skies and rolling hills of Earth. A strange, otherworldly beauty clung to every detail, from the jagged cliffs to the wispy cirrus clouds that drifted across the salmon-colored sky. "It's incredible," she breathed, her lips curving into a tentative smile. After years of training and simulations, nothing could have prepared her for the sheer scale and grandeur of this alien world. Winters turned and extended a hand, helping the next colonist, a young geologist named Ethan Patel, down the steps of the lander. Patel's eyes were wide with wonder as he drank in his surroundings, his fingers already itching to collect samples and begin analyzing the Martian soil. "We did it," he murmured, his voice tinged with a mix of disbelief and exhilaration. "We're actually here." The remaining colonists followed in quick succession, their movements a practiced, well-choreographed dance. Biologist Mai Chen and astrobiologist Jack Finnegan began unpacking specialized equipment, while the engineers, Raj Sharma and Alicia Morales, checked the status of the lander systems. Winters watched them with a mixture of pride and trepidation. This was only the beginning. The real work, the challenge of establishing a fully functional, self-sustaining outpost on an alien world, lay ahead. She knew that the coming months would test the limits of their training, their resourcefulness, and their sheer force of will. "All right, people, let's get to it," Winters commanded, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. "We've got a lot of work to do. Chen, Finnegan, start mapping the immediate area and identifying potential landing sites for the supply drops. Sharma, Morales, begin setting up the habitat modules and life support systems. Patel, you're with me. We need to start planning the exploration routes and survey the local geology." The colonists snapped into action, their movements efficient and purposeful. Years of preparation had forged them into a well-oiled machine, but Winters knew that reality would quickly turn the best-laid plans on their head. As she strode across the Martian soil, Winters couldn't help but glance back at the lander, a pang of homesickness tugging at her heart. This was it, the point of no return. There was no going back, no easy escape. Their fate was now inextricably linked to the success or failure of this mission. Winters shook off the feeling, pushing it down with a deep breath. Now was not the time for self-doubt or fear. She was the commander, the leader of humanity's first permanent off-world settlement. These colonists were counting on her to guide them through the challenges that lay ahead. "Patel, what's our initial assessment of the landing site?" Winters asked, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. The young geologist hurried to catch up, his eyes alight with scientific curiosity. "The terrain is highly varied, with a mix of sedimentary and igneous rock formations. I'm detecting traces of water ice and other volatiles in the subsurface, which is promising. But the environment is still incredibly harsh. The atmospheric pressure is less than 1% of Earth's, and the radiation levels are off the charts." Winters nodded, her mind already whirring with contingency plans. "We'll need to move quickly to establish a pressurized habitat and start production of water and oxygen. Any insights on potential hazards or obstacles we should be aware of?" Patel's brow furrowed in concentration. "The terrain is rough and unpredictable, with numerous canyons and sinkholes that could pose serious risks. And the dust storms, the Sims never really captured just how intense they can be. We'll need to be extremely cautious when venturing outside the habitat." Winters felt a trickle of unease run down her spine. The challenges ahead were daunting, far beyond anything she and the others had experienced, even in the most rigorous training regimes. But she refused to let that show. determined to project an unwavering sense of confidence for the sake of her team. "Then we'd better get to work," she said, her voice resolute. "Time's a-wasting, and we've got a colony to build." The first few months on Mars were a relentless crucible, testing the mettle of the colonists in ways they had never imagined. What had once seemed like a grand adventure now felt like a daily battle for survival. Establishing a functioning, self-sustaining outpost on an alien world was a monumental challenge, fraught with unexpected obstacles at every turn. Growing food, extracting and purifying water, generating power, and maintaining the delicate life support systems. Each task was a painstaking, arduous process that required unwavering focus and determination. Commander Samantha Winters had known it would be difficult, but the reality of their situation was far harsher than any simulation or training exercise could have prepared them for. "We're running low on water supplies," Mai Chen reported grimly during one of the daily status meetings. "The desalinization equipment is struggling to keep up with our needs, and the hydroponic crops aren't producing at the expected yield." Winters felt a familiar knot of worry tighten in her stomach. Water was the lifeblood of their colony, and shortages could quickly become a crisis. "What about the backup reserves?" she asked, already dreading the answer. Chen shook her head. "We're down to less than a 2-week supply. If we can't find a way to increase production, we'll have to start rationing." Raj Sharma, the chief engineer, cleared his throat. "We're working around the clock to optimize the systems, but the power grid is already stretched to its limits. Any major failures could be catastrophic." Winters clenched her jaw, her mind racing. She had spent countless hours poring over contingency plans, but the reality of their situation was proving far more challenging than anything they had anticipated. "All right, people, here's what we're going to do," she said, her voice steady and authoritative. "Chen, work with Finnegan to see if there are any untapped water sources we're missing. Sharma, I want a detailed analysis of the power grid. Identify weak points, calculate the minimum reserves we need to maintain life support, and come up with a plan to boost production." The colonists nodded, their expressions grim but resolute. They knew the stakes were high, and failure was not an option. As the meeting adjourned, Winters found herself drawn to the large observation window that overlooked the Martian landscape. The rust-colored expanse seemed to stretch on forever, a harsh, alien beauty that mocked their struggles. She stared out at the horizon, lost in thought. Project Director Petrov had warned them about the unyielding challenges they would face, but Winters couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment. This was supposed to be humanity's triumphant leap into the cosmos, not a desperate battle for survival. A soft chime from her comm unit jolted her back to reality. Winters tapped the device, her brow furrowing as she read the urgent message. "Emergency in the habitat module," the text read. "Life support systems critical failure." Winters took off at a dead sprint, her heart pounding in her chest. She burst through the airlock, the thin Martian atmosphere stinging her eyes as she raced toward the habitat. The scene that greeted her was one of chaos and confusion. Colonists were scrambling, shouting orders and tapping frantically at control panels. Alicia Morels, the chief engineer, was barking commands, her face etched with panic. "What's happening?" Winters demanded, her voice cutting through the din. "The oxygen generator just went down," Morales shouted, her words punctuated by the blaring of alarms. "We're losing atmospheric pressure in the module. If we can't get it back online in the next 10 minutes, we'll have to evacuate." Winters felt the blood drain from her face. Evacuate. That would mean abandoning the hard-won progress they had made, possibly even aborting the entire mission. She couldn't let that happen, not after everything they had endured to reach this point. "Work with Sharma, figure out a way to bypass the system and restore life support," she commanded. "I'll coordinate with Mission Control, see if they can talk us through a fix." Morales nodded grimly, already turning back to the control panel. Winters spun on her heel and raced to the communications hub, her mind whirling with possibilities. The fate of the colony now rested on their ability to problem solve, and act decisively in the face of this crisis. As she punched in the emergency code to reach Project Director Petrov, Winters couldn't shake the sinking feeling that this was only the beginning. The challenges they faced were far greater than any of them had anticipated, and the margin for error was painfully slim. If they couldn't find a way to overcome this latest obstacle, their dream of establishing a permanent human foothold on Mars could be over before it had even truly begun. The crisis in the habitat module was averted, but the strain of the ordeal had taken a heavy toll on the colonists. As the adrenaline wore off, a pervasive sense of exhaustion and disillusionment began to set in. Samantha Winters watched with a heavy heart as her crew retreated to their quarters, their faces etched with a mix of frustration and despair. The initial excitement and wonder of setting foot on Mars had been replaced by the grim reality of their situation, the relentless struggle to maintain the delicate balance needed to sustain human life on this alien world. "We're barely hanging on," Mei Chen lamented during a private meeting with Winters. "The food production is still erratic. The water shortages are only getting worse, and morale is at an all-time low." Winters nodded, her expression grim. "I know. And there's still so much work to be done before we can even consider expanding the colony. At this rate, I'm not sure we have the resources to make it through the next few months, let alone the years ahead." Chen sighed heavily, her eyes downcast. "Maybe we shouldn't have come at all. Maybe we should just give up." Winters interrupted, her voice sharp. "That's not an option, May. We knew this was going to be the toughest challenge of our lives, but we're not quitters. We're the first permanent human settlers on another planet. We can't just turn back now." Chen looked up, a flicker of defiance in her gaze. "I'm not saying we should quit. I miss Earth. I miss my family, my friends. I miss being able to step outside without a pressurized suit. This place is slowly killing us, Samantha, and I'm not sure we have what it takes to survive it." Winters reached across the table, giving Chen's hand a reassuring squeeze. "We do. I know it doesn't feel that way right now, but we've got to keep pushing forward. Project Director Petrov and the team back home are working around the clock to get us the support we need. All we have to do is hold on a little longer." Chen nodded reluctantly, though the worry in her eyes remained. "I hope you're right, because I'm not sure how much more of this the others can take." As Chen departed, Winters found herself drawn to the observation window once more, her gaze fixed on the rust-colored horizon. She couldn't deny the growing sense of homesickness that tugged at her own heart, the longing for the familiar sights and sounds of Earth. But she also knew that turning back now would be the ultimate failure, not just for their mission, but for the very future of human exploration. They were pioneers, the first to take this bold step into the unknown, and they couldn't afford to falter, no matter how daunting the challenges became. Winters clenched her jaw, steeling her resolve. She would need to find a way to reignite the colonists' sense of purpose, to remind them of the historic significance of what they were trying to accomplish. Failure was not an option, no matter the personal cost. As she made her way back to the habitat, Winters caught sight of Ethan Patel, the young geologist, hunched over a workbench in the makeshift laboratory. His brow was furrowed in concentration as he meticulously catalogued soil samples, his hands moving with practiced precision. Winters paused, observing him for a moment. Patel's unwavering dedication to his work was a testament to the spirit that had brought them all to this place. Perhaps he was the key to rekindling the colonists' sense of purpose. "Ethan," she called out, drawing the young man's attention. "I need your help." Patel looked up, his eyes widening with surprise. "Of course, Commander. What can I do?" Winters took a deep breath, already formulating a plan in her mind. "I want you to put together a presentation. Something that will remind the others why we're here and what we're fighting for. We need to reignite that sense of wonder, that drive to push the boundaries of human exploration." A glimmer of understanding dawned in Patel's gaze. "You want me to share what I've discovered about the Martian geology and climate?" Winters nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "Exactly." Show them the potential, Ethan. Show them what this planet can offer, and why our mission is so vital to the future of our species." Patel's expression hardened with determination. "Consider it done, Commander. I won't let you down." As Patel hurried off to begin his preparations, Winters felt a renewed sense of hope. If anyone could reignite the colonists' passion, it would be the young scientist, whose boundless curiosity and infectious enthusiasm had already proven to be a driving force behind their endeavor. It wouldn't be easy, but Winters knew that the future of their colony, and perhaps the very future of humanity itself, depended on their ability to overcome this latest crisis. Failure was not an option. The news came as a shock to the weary colonists. A lifeline had been thrown to them from the distant planet they had left behind. Project Director Alexandra Petrov's face appeared on the high-definition screen, her expression a mix of relief and determination. "Mars 1, this is Mission Control. We have good news. The global governments have pledged unprecedented resources to support your mission. Additional colonists, supplies, and state-of-the-art technology are being readied for immediate launch." Samantha Winters felt a surge of hope rise within her chest, quickly replacing the sense of despair that had threatened to consume her and her crew. For weeks, they had been barely clinging to survival, their dreams of establishing a thriving Martian outpost slipping through their fingers. But now, with the promise of reinforcements and new resources, the future seemed a little brighter. That's incredible news, Director," Winters replied, her voice betraying a hint of disbelief. "What's the timeline for these additional supplies?" "The first cargo ships will be launching within the next 2 weeks," Petrov announced, her gaze unwavering. "They'll be bringing additional habitat modules, life support systems, and enough food and water to sustain the colony for the next year. We're also sending a new team of colonists to join your ranks." Winters felt the weight lift from her shoulders, her mind racing with the possibilities. With the extra resources and manpower, they might finally be able to make meaningful progress in expanding the outpost and becoming truly self-sufficient. "Director, this is Mei Chen," the biologist chimed in, stepping into the frame. "We're incredibly grateful for this support, but I have to ask, what prompted this sudden influx of assistance? Things were looking pretty dire back here." Petrov offered a wry smile. "Let's just say your plight has captured the imagination of the entire planet. The global community has rallied behind your mission, recognizing the historic significance of what you're trying to accomplish. They won't let you fail. Not on their watch." Chen's eyes widened with a mixture of surprise and relief. That's incredible. I can't believe the whole world is rooting for us." "Indeed," Petrov replied. "And the resources being mobilized are just the beginning. This is humanity's chance to take a giant leap forward, and we're not about to let it slip through our fingers. Hold tight, Mars 1. Reinforcements are on the way." As the transmission ended, Winters turned to address her crew, a newfound sense of purpose burning in her eyes. "You heard the Director," she announced, her voice ringing with authority. "Help is on the way, and we're going to make the most of it. I want everyone working around the clock to prepare for the arrival of the new supplies and colonists. Chen, work with Finnegan to ensure we have the proper infrastructure in place to accommodate the expanded habitat. Sharma, Morales, start mapping out the upgrades we'll need to the power grid and life support systems. We're going to turn this place into a thriving, self-sufficient colony, even if it kills us." The colonists sprang into action, their movements invigorated by a renewed sense of hope. Gone were the expressions of defeat and hopelessness. In their place, a newfound determination had taken root. As Winters watched her crew spring to life, she couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. This was the spirit that had brought them to Mars in the first place, the unwavering drive to push the boundaries of human exploration, to leave an indelible mark on the course of history. "We're not giving up. Not now. Not ever," she murmured under her breath. "This is our destiny, and we're going to fulfill it, no matter what it takes." In the days that followed, the Mars 1 colony transformed with frenetic energy. New habitat modules were erected, their sleek, modular designs a stark contrast to the initial, makeshift shelters. Hydroponics bays were expanded, and the water reclamation systems were overhauled, increasing their efficiency tenfold. And when the first cargo ships finally touched down on the Martian surface, the colonists greeted them with a mix of relief and exhilaration. Fresh faces joined their ranks, bringing with them a renewed sense of purpose and camaraderie. Winters watched it all unfold with a sense of cautious optimism. The colony was no longer teetering on the edge of collapse. It was thriving, growing stronger with each passing day. The future they had once only dreamed of was within their grasp. But as she gazed out over the rust-colored landscape, Winters couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was only the beginning. The true test of their mettle was yet to come. As the weeks turned into months, the Mars One colony began to transform into a thriving, self-sustaining outpost. The influx of new resources and personnel had breathed new life into the struggling settlement, and a sense of wonder and optimism began to take root among the colonists. Samantha Winters watched with a mix of pride and relief as the once barren Martian landscape gave way to a bustling hub of activity. Gleaming habitat modules stood in stark contrast to the rust-colored terrain, their windows offering tantalizing glimpses of lush hydroponics bays and state-of-the-art laboratories. "It's incredible, isn't it?" Ethan Patel said, sidling up beside the commander. "Just a few months ago, we were barely clinging to survival. Now, look at us." Winters nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "It is. I have to admit, I had my doubts, but the team has really stepped up, and the support from Earth has made all the difference." Patel's eyes gleamed with excitement. "And we're just getting started. Wait until you see what I've discovered about the Martian geology and climate. There's so much untapped potential here. We've only scratched the surface." Winters felt a surge of pride as she watched the young geologist's enthusiasm. It had been Patel's passionate presentation, delivered at a critical juncture, that had helped reignite the colonists' sense of purpose and wonder. His boundless curiosity and scientific acumen had become an invaluable asset to the mission. "I can't wait to hear about it," Winters replied. "But first, tell me, how are the food production and water reclamation systems holding up?" Patel's expression grew more serious. "The hydroponics bays are running at peak efficiency, and we've even had a few successful harvests. But the water situation is still a bit dicey. The desalination and purification systems are working overtime to keep up with demand." Winters frowned, her brow furrowing in concern. "Any ideas on how we can improve the water situation?" "Actually, yes," Patel said, his eyes lighting up. "I think I've found a promising new source of water that could help alleviate the strain on our systems. It's going to require some extensive excavation and processing, but the payoff could be huge." Winters felt a surge of hope at the young scientist's words. "Then let's make it a priority. Coordinate with Chen and Sharma. I want to see a detailed plan on my desk by the end of the day." Patel nodded enthusiastically, already turning to hurry back to the lab. As Winters watched him go, she couldn't help but marvel at how far the colony had come. Just a few short months ago, they had been on the brink of collapse. Now, they were on the cusp of a major scientific breakthrough that could transform their fortunes. It was a testament to the resilience and determination of the colonists, as well as the unwavering support they had received from Earth. Winters knew that their success would have far-reaching implications, not just for the future of the Mars One mission, but for the entire course of human exploration. As she made her way back to the command center, Winters couldn't help but glance out the observation window, her gaze drawn to the distant horizon. The rust-colored landscape, once so alien and forbidding, had become a familiar sight, a testament to the colonists' ability to adapt and thrive in this harsh, unforgiving environment. "We're making history here," she murmured, the weight of that realization settling upon her shoulders. "One day, people will look back on this moment and see it as the beginning of a new era for humanity." The days that followed were a flurry of activity, as the colonists worked tirelessly to implement Patel's plan for extracting and purifying the newfound water source. It was a complex and arduous process, requiring the coordination of multiple teams and the careful deployment of specialized equipment. But as the first drops of pure, crystal-clear water began to flow through the colony's distribution systems, a collective cheer went up among the colonists. This was a milestone, a tangible sign of their ability to not just survive, but to thrive in the harsh Martian environment. Winters watched the celebration with a sense of pride and relief, knowing that the colony had passed a critical juncture. The initial struggles and setbacks were now a distant memory, replaced by a growing confidence in their ability to push the boundaries of human exploration. "We're not just explorers anymore," she murmured, her gaze sweeping across the bustling habitat. "We're pioneers, building the foundation for a new era of human civilization. And this is only the beginning." With the colony firmly established and the life support systems running at peak efficiency, Samantha Winters and Project Director Alexandra Petrov turned their attention to the next phase of the Mars One mission, preparing for the arrival of the first Martian-born children. It was a momentous milestone, one that had been carefully planned for and anticipated since the very inception of the project. The successful birth and upbringing of the first generation of humans native to another world would be a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit, as well as a crucial step in the long-term goal of establishing a permanent, self-sustaining human presence on Mars. "This is uncharted territory," Petrov said during one of their video conferences, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We've trained for every contingency, but the challenges of raising children in this environment are unlike anything we've ever encountered before." Winters nodded, her gaze resolute. "I know, Director. But we're ready. The habitat modules are designed to accommodate families, the medical facilities are state-of-the-art, and we've developed comprehensive educational programs tailored specifically for Martian-born children." Petrov offered a wry smile. "That may be true, but let's not underestimate the psychological and emotional toll this will take on the colonists. Raising children is difficult enough on Earth. On Mars, the stakes are even higher." Winters felt a pang of trepidation at the director's words, but she refused to let it show. "We'll face those challenges head-on, just like we've tackled every other obstacle that's come our way. This colony was built on the dreams and aspirations of those who came before us. We can't falter now, not when we're so close to realizing that vision." Petrov's expression softened, and she nodded approvingly. "I have every confidence in you and your crew, Samantha. You've proven time and time again that you have what it takes to overcome the impossible. Just be sure to take care of yourselves, too. This is going to be an immense undertaking, both physically and emotionally." As the video call ended, Winters turned to face the bustling activity of the colony, her gaze sweeping across the various habitats and workstations. The once sparse landscape was now a thriving hub of human endeavor, a testament to the resilience and determination of the colonists. But now, with the arrival of the first Martian-born children on the horizon, the stakes had been raised even higher. These young lives were the future of their fledgling civilization, and the colonists would need to ensure that they not only survived, but thrived in this harsh, alien environment. Winters made her way to the newly constructed family habitat, where a group of expectant parents were gathered, their faces a mix of excitement and trepidation. As she addressed the assembled colonists, she could see the weight of responsibility reflected in their eyes. "We're on the cusp of a new chapter in human history," Winters began, her voice steady and reassuring. "The children that will be born here on this alien world will be the first of their kind, the pioneers of a new era of human exploration and settlement. Their futures, and the futures of all who come after them, are in our hands." A murmur of acknowledgement rippled through the crowd, and Winters continued, her gaze sweeping across the assembled faces. "We've overcome so many obstacles to reach this point, and I have no doubt that we'll rise to meet this challenge as well. But we can't do it alone. These children will need our unwavering support, our guidance, and our love. They'll need us to create a home for them, a place where they can thrive and grow, safe and secure in the knowledge that they are part of something greater than themselves. Winters paused, her eyes glazing over with a hint of emotion. They'll be the first Martians, the first to take their first steps on this alien soil, to breathe the thin air of this world. And it will be our job to ensure that they can do so with confidence, with pride, and with a deep understanding of the legacy they carry. The colonists nodded, their expressions hardening with determination. Winters knew that the road ahead would not be an easy one, but she also knew that these were the people who had dared to venture to the stars, to push the boundaries of human exploration. They would not falter, not now, not when the future of their fledgling civilization was at stake. Together, Winters said, her voice ringing with conviction, "We will build a brighter tomorrow, not just for ourselves, but for all those who will come after us. We are the pioneers of a new age, and our legacy will echo through the ages." As the colonists erupted into a thunderous round of applause, Winters felt a surge of pride and hope. The future of Mars, and perhaps the future of humanity itself, now rested in their capable hands. The years passed in a blur, and the Mars One colony blossomed into a thriving, self-sustaining outpost, a beacon of human resilience and ingenuity in the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Martian landscape. Samantha Winters watched with a mix of pride and wonder as the first generation of Martian-born children took their first tentative steps across the red soil, their laughter and boundless curiosity filling the air. These young pioneers, raised in the harsh yet captivating environment of their alien home, embodied the very essence of the mission's success. "Can you believe it?" Mei Chen said, sidling up beside Winters as they observed the children at play. "Just a few years ago, we were barely clinging to survival. And now, look at them, healthy, vibrant, and already showing signs of adaptations to this world." Winters nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "It's remarkable, isn't it? All the sacrifices, the setbacks, the sheer determination it took to get us here. It was worth it, every single moment." Chen's expression softened, and she placed a reassuring hand on Winters' arm. "You were the one who kept us going, Samantha. When things were at their worst, you never lost faith. You inspired us to push on, to overcome the impossible." Winters felt a surge of emotion at Chen's words, a lifetime of memories flashing through her mind. The early days of struggle and uncertainty, the devastating setbacks, the moments of triumph and celebration. It all seemed like a distant dream, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. "We did it together," Winters murmured, her gaze fixed on the children. "All of us, working as one, to build a future for our species on this alien world." And now, seeing these young faces, she paused, her voice thick with emotion. "This is the legacy we'll leave behind." Chen nodded, her own eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's everything we ever hoped for, and more. The first Martians, the pioneers of a new era of human exploration." As the children scampered off to explore the newly expanded gardens, Winters turned to Chen, her expression solemn. "There's still so much work to be done," she said. "We've laid the groundwork, but the real challenge is ensuring that this colony continues to thrive, long after we're gone." Chen's brow furrowed in thought. "You're right. We have to start planning for the future, for the generations that will come after us. How do we ensure that our legacy endures?" Winters' gaze swept across the bustling habitat, taking in the sights and sounds of the colony's daily life. "Education," she said, her voice firm. "We need to instill in these children a deep sense of purpose, an understanding of the sacrifices made to build this place. They need to know that they are the custodians of something greater than themselves." Chen nodded in agreement, "And we'll need to continue expanding the colony, both in terms of infrastructure and population. If we want this to be a truly self-sustaining settlement, we'll need to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible." Winters felt a surge of renewed determination. "Exactly. This is just the beginning, May. The first step in humanity's journey to the stars. And we'll be the ones to show the way, to pave the road for those who come after us. As the two women turned and made their way back to the command center, Winters couldn't help but glance back at the children, their laughter echoing across the Martian landscape. In their faces, she saw the future, not just of the Mars One colony, but of the human race itself. The road ahead would not be an easy one. Winters knew. There would be challenges, setbacks, and perhaps even tragedies along the way. But she also knew, with an unwavering certainty, that the colonists possessed the strength, the ingenuity, and the sheer determination to overcome any obstacle that stood in their way. This was their destiny, their legacy, to be the pioneers of a new era, the trailblazers who had dared to venture beyond the confines of their home planet and claim their rightful place among the stars. As Winters stepped through the airlock and into the bustling hub of activity, she couldn't help but feel a sense of profound gratitude and humility. They had come so far, against all odds, and the future that lay before them was brighter than anything they could have imagined. "This is only the beginning," she murmured, her gaze fixed on the horizon, where the rust-colored sky stretched out endlessly. "The true test of our mettle is yet to come, but I have no doubt that we're ready." With a deep breath, Winters turned and strode purposefully toward the command center, her steps filled with the unwavering determination that had carried her and her crew through the countless challenges they had faced. The future of humanity's off-world expansion now rested on their shoulders, and she was determined to ensure that they would not falter, no matter what lay ahead.